Blessings, blessings, blessings. I am the consciousness consultant, and today we are sourcing spiritual and mental health.
See, you like to blame them onions when you cry, but you so sweet now them onions caramelized. You been asleep.
Welcome everybody to Cream Rises again. One more time. Of course, y'all don't know this, but we're starting over. Welcome back to Cream Rises. We're hearing that it's one of the most informative and friendly, conscious podcasts. There's a lot of them out there, and a lot of people are resonating with us. We appreciate your support. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe and share. And I'm GLook, and that's the consciousness consultant. And again, we have our mission statement is to give you some clarity, some spiritual guidance, some emotional, and just some solid background on how to deal with this place as we move through this time here in 2023 and moving forward. There's no like I said before, which of course y'all didn't hear it, but we don't really hit on current events. We know that it's trains turning over and planes crashing and UFOs getting shot down and babies getting molested and we know money. We know what's happening. But if we hit on every current event every day, to make our point, it would make the point moot because since the beginning of mankind, all of these calamities and things have been in place in this space. So it's been wars,
Right.
There's been all kinds of things going on. So what we try to do is hit that current event in your mind, in your soul, in your spirit, in your connection with God or the higher, and we try to hit that. That's what Cream Rises means. So how's it going today, G? Tell the people what's up and what we're going to be hollering about today.
What's up? What's up? We blessed. We blessed today. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Yeah, GLook, it's all good today. We got a great topic, great downloads. Been brought some great material for the day to share with everyone. And like you said, it's always about cutting through all the bullshit so that you can have your own peace within yourself through everything that's happening. So that's why we always go to the source of things instead of the event of everything. Even though we may touch on that. And speaking of source, that's actually the topic today. Is sourcing mental and spiritual health. And I know some people that are in certain fields may know what that word means, but it's kind of self-explanatory, finding the source, the fundamental aspect, the birthing of our mental and spiritual health. And so today we're going to touch on that.
There's a difference between mental and spiritual health.
Yeah, so there are key indicators that separate them in our experience, so that we can have some reference. So everything that we use as indicators are just to reference for us to understand what's what and be able to place these things. So yeah, in that aspect, they are separate. Obviously, everything births from the spirit and your spiritual health ultimately. But when we're in experience, we need indicators and reference so we can place things and so that we can palette things within our system. So
So
yeah, there is a difference on that level.
I did ask you that because I had a thought in my head. I just wanted to get it out there before you got into your thing. Because to me,
Mm,
the mental and the spiritual, once that mind goes, that spirit takes over, and I think you can act on things. When you got people throwing shit at cars or going into establishment, homeless people and stabbing up people, or just road raging. I think the spirit takes over. I think once your mind pop, that spirit of who you are takes over, and you can actually be in Las
yeah,
Vegas and shoot up a bunch of motherfuckers, like hundreds of people. I think that's a spirit from a
right,
mentally fucked up person whose
right,
spirit took over. So I kind of look at them like we all got it in us to do it. And I think if anybody mind just
right,
rubber
right.
band pop, that the spirit of who you are. I mean, you just might go around start just hugging everybody or petting dogs,
Yeah,
but your spirit, you
yeah,
might just go on and lose it and hitting that red dot on the forehead of anybody or axing motherfuckers, because it's a lot of things going on now that seem like that dude back in the day that Jesus cast the spirit. He sounded like a motherfucker that had a mental breakdown and probably would have been recommended for therapy before he actually was the dude that everybody was scared of, that Jesus had to come and cast the demons out of, and that spirit that was in him was cast into the sheep that ran or the pigs that all went over the cliff. So I don't see no difference between
Right.
that motherfucker and people I be hearing about on the news, or the nigga in the mall that just starts shooting, or the dude that travel across country to hide in the house just to kill that girl that he met on the internet and everybody in the family. Sound kind of similar. So
Right.
I know I'm rambling a little bit,
Right.
but I please tell me the difference between mental and spiritual, you know, depravity.
Right. Right. So basically, Uh, there's 2 points to that. I love what you're saying. There's always levels to everything. Just to tap on what you said. Um, the original in Lord of the Rings, the original bad guy, the evil guy's name was Morgoth, and then you had the second evil guy's name was Sauron, and they both were evil and they both were the bad guys. But Morgoth was had a different spirit because he wanted to destroy everything, and Sauron just wanted to rule over everything. So when we
Okay.
start going, this is what we're talking about, sourcing from where things are coming from. So basically, to get back on what you're saying is yes, correct. Everything comes from the spirit ultimately, but there are indicators that uh, divide um, divide the mental aspect from the spiritual source. So basically, the
No, I
two
didn't say that.
fundamental.
I said I surmised that everything came from the mental and
Oh, I thought you said everything came from the
gave over
spiritual.
to your spirit. So I think,
Oh, okay,
yeah, I think everybody walking around ready to pop. And
okay.
once the
Well, let's talk
mental
about
shit,
that.
yeah, once the mental shit don't line up, then the spirit of who they
Okay,
are, they explode.
okay. Yeah, let's talk about that. That to me that would be backwards.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Mhm.
So first and foremost, this is why I'm gonna just talk about the spirit first, and then we're gonna get into that.
Right.
So the spirit of things, we talked about this in our last video, end of
Mhm.
season one, right? Spirituality 101. We talked about sourcing the spirit, right? And what that means, source, connection, right, and inspiration. So sourcing the spirit, there's basically two fundamental aspects that your spirit comes from, your inspiration comes from. Fundamentally, it's either fear or love, right? This is when you split duality in this place. So everything's coming from in your spirit, that's birthing from your inspiration, that is driving your spirit. It's either coming from fear or it's coming from love. Now there are so many one-offs from those two fundamental basic sources, right? You have fear, you could have hate, jealousy, envy. You can be one to conquer out of that space. You can be rejecting things from that space. You can be power hungry from that space, right? There's a lot of things that come from that space, abandonment, all these things, right? Then you have love, where you can have joy and peace and contentment, and you can be one to give out benevolence and things like that, right? And gentleness and all these different things, right? Understanding. So basically, those two fundamental aspects are where your spirit sources from. So even if I say, so whatever you want to do that you say you're inspired, that comes from the spirit, whatever's happening in your life from that's coming from your spirit, if you source it, you'll see it's either coming from love or fear,
Okay.
right? Now, that ties in. So that's just what we have to understand first and foremost. There's two, then this is what we got to, before we get back and tie what you're saying, because you had a great point. Two fundamental aspects of where spirit is sourcing from is fear or love, right? That's the spirit behind it's coming either from a spirit of love or a spirit of fear. And so um, now that connects into the mental. Now, the reason why I would say what you said is backwards in my experience and from my knowledge is because the mental aspect, everything else is second from the spirit. Everything else is second. The mental aspect of things are now the that's the manifestation in your mind and in your consciousness from your spirit of where your inspiration is coming from. So for instance, someone who is spirit is sourcing from fear will have a lot of fear-based mental projections and a fear-based mental experience, right? They'll resonate with that more. They'll lean that way more. They'll see that way more, right? Because the spirit in which they're doing things, the spirit in which it was coming through them is coming from that space. So the mental aspect, because the mental aspect, and we'll jump to this point in the mental aspect. The mental aspect has two roots that come from it being from that space, which is typically depression or anxiety, right? So that aspect of the root of your mental health, defining the balance in between those, there's a threshold in the middle that causes that great mental health. Otherwise, you either are leaning towards depression or leaning towards anxiety, which is living in the future anxiety, living in the past depression, right? Trying to control, trying to hold on, things like that, right? And so the spirit of things govern your mental, because the mental aspect is driven by a source, and the source of your mental health is where your fundamental spirit is coming from. The reason why people aren't in touch with this as much is because there's not enough practice happening, spiritual practice and work happening for most people, because the place has everybody. The matrix has most people, so they're so invested in the play that they don't see that there's something beyond even your mental, how you seeing shit, and why your mind is doing that to you, or how you're able to balance that or see things for what it is within yourself. Because the practice of seeing the spirit behind the things is a sourcing practice. And so what you said is, I understand what you're saying with that, but I would go as far as to say that the spirit governs everything first and foremost, and the spirit is permeating through your mental faculties and your mental capacity, which is the projection of your world and the world you actually live in. But
Mm.
the energy in which that's coming from is your spirit.
So,
And that's why that's oh, go ahead.
so it kind of don't jive up with me a little bit because I'm thinking of road rage or spousal abuse or niggas just pulling their
Yeah.
gun out and shooting a motherfucker just on a thought, or they was having a good day and then something happened and just so quickly. Was they already, spiritually depraved or in a weak place, or were they mentally adjusting to this place and all the things didn't line up that they thought would line up, even though it may appear successful to other people, and then that motherfucker is just a trigger, or just a we call that loaded, and you don't bring the
Well,
pancakes
this is
just right
where
at the house of pancakes. You just bring the crispy pancakes, and now this motherfucker's just, I'll be right back, and go to the car. Is that his spirit? Is mental? I'm just asking for the people. Is he mentally depraved or is
yeah.
he spiritually depraved? I'll be right back.
Well,
Let me
great,
just go to the car. I'll be
great
right back.
question. That's a great point, great question. And this is where I always encourage people. This is one thing that people don't see usually, and I don't like using people don't see too much, but that is not readily available in everyone's experience because of the busyness of the life that they're in, is that when I talk about the spirit of things, is is also the way that your spirit absorbed your fundamental years and what it calculated up with that governed into your mental. So
So
for
your
instance,
map.
that guy that pulled out his yeah, that guy that pulled out his gun that got cut off in the car. If he did his homework on himself and sourced himself, and say you were able to go into a spiritual practice and see, he would see maybe his dad was violent, and then the type of his spirit absorbed that violence into a mental projection, and then now the trigger is something like that, because and so that's the reason why maybe he would appear to act that way, that seems unrecognizable to someone else. So again, it's always from the spirit, because your spirit, you are a spirit in this place, and your first 12 years in this place, 12 to 13 years, your whole life in general, but your first 12 to 13 years for most people are the impressions of your spirits, of what you feel that your mental identity is and how you need to move in this place. Because anything that's mental has to do with your identity. That's why I said it can't be first. Your mental aspect of yourself is your egoic aspect of yourself. Your egoic aspect is, who am I? I'm this, I do that. I don't like that. I like this. I'm scared
Mm-hmm.
of that. That's how they see me. That's
Mm-hmm.
your mental world. Your
Right.
mental world is produced in, and it's honed in your 12 to 13 years, based upon how your spirit receives the world around it, and how your spirit has been encoded from the heavens to come in and with us, coming to put in this place.
Uh.
So so that's why everything comes from the spirit, because your spirit is creating its human identity in its first 12 to 13 years based upon its setting and based upon how it absorbs its setting and based upon what it's been told it was in its setting.
So the mental would be a key to unlock the spiritual.
It's breadcrumbs
The
to it.
spiritual is
I
there.
mean, there's breadcrumbs to it because most people ain't gonna just dive straight into that because that's a lot. You've been here. You have to have affinity for that, or you have to be brought to that place to where you actually start sourcing and
I
seeing
know,
your
yeah, but I know.
spirit,
I don't. I
knowing
don't
what
want to
you.
tell. I don't want to tell these motherfuckers that watch our show that they can't. I want to keep that shit basic
No,
first because I know what you're saying.
no, they can.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
you're giving them a lot. I mean, them
yeah.
motherfuckers they get
Yeah.
one foot in front of the other, just like that snowman on the snow thing. One step. I don't want to tell these
Yes.
motherfuckers. Yeah, these are my people.
Yes.
These are our people. Your mental and your spiritual.
Okay.
All right. So just when you come out the womb, what is it? Both, or is it your
Hmm.
spirit first? Is it your spirit or is it your mental?
It's your spirit. You don't have.
You don't have no
You don't have
mental.
a. You don't. Your mind. Yeah, you have
Yeah.
basic mental functionings, but when we talk about mental, we don't talk about the subconscious mental that governs your systems in this place. You talking about the mental aspect of the identity of what you think you are here.
Okay.
You
So
talking about
now,
your ego
so
mental.
now, now we shift. You 4 years old. That boy that want to drown the babies and that boy that just want to play with everybody. They both was born the
Hmm.
same day. Why is one want to drown the drown the cats and slam on everybody, and why is one want to be loving and want to they just 4 years out the womb, undeveloped minds.
Yeah,
Was it the spirit
yeah.
of that? What was? You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to ask.
It's
Was
yeah.
Nimrod
Good question.
already? Did Nimrod come out like that? Was his spirit to be
Well,
that?
you're asking two questions now. So you
Oh, okay,
asking. So let's not bleed them in because
okay,
one of those answers is the first answer is the spirit who you become and who that being is that you talking about or you or anyone you're just pointing at, they became what they are based upon what they how they spirit absorbed their experience in this place in their
okay.
pivotal years.
So we are
But
responsible, but we
ultimately though,
go ahead, huh?
no, I'm gonna answer the second question.
Uh-huh.
Ultimately though, that was meant to happen. So there's not a it is destined. Nimrod was destined to be Nimrod with the perfect recipe that his life had for him.
Okay,
As
so
you
so
feel
that
me?
I get that, and I believe that wholly. Uh, as a black
Mm-hmm.
man and as a race, trying to know that we can uh at least help with the narrative of the life of a young man. Can we pour into somebody as a kid differently than we've done to make them more uh, spiritual, more anything than we
Mm-hmm.
have been? Can we break a
Mm-hmm.
pattern of oppression and things like that, self hate, all the things that happen in the black community? Can
Mm-hmm.
we break that pattern, or was they destined? Is it just destined to be like it is right now?
So that's a multidimensional question, but I'm gonna answer it very simply so that people can understand um, the answer in
I
the
know what it
most
is, and I
simplified
know I
way.
know
So
it's something we like to
yeah,
say that I know you don't want to say. Like it is what it is, and some people's just better than each other, and we just gotta let the shit out. The cards your ass is
no,
dealt, because when you leave, you just don't want to come back. I mean, I know what, because I'm asking almost a social question. I know it's hard for
no,
you to tell. Like you niggas ain't gonna be, it just is what it is.
no, no, but you gotta hear.
Yeah,
That's
you
funny.
motherfuckers
No,
come
it is
on.
that at a level, but I'm gonna say this too though, because you gotta if you feel this pull, and say it's this kid in your life that you see every day in your complex, and you feel this pull to reflect to them something beautiful or encourage
Hmm.
them in a way or show them some spirituality or give them some practices, then that is part of their destiny. That is
Right,
part of what it is as well. So
right.
I do want to say it is what it is, but every moving part is a part of what it is.
Okay.
So when we talk about that, you have to. I'm gonna be very clear with this though. Like when we talk like that, you have to have a multi-dimensional mind to really understand those things. And if it goes black or white, you're not gonna understand because you're like, well, shit, should we not do nothing or just? And it's not like that. Like
Well, yeah, I know that.
you,
And cream will
you know,
rise.
but you,
Yeah, I
right,
get it.
right,
I get
exactly. It's set up that way. But you right though. Practically speaking, though, you right. Everybody, if should pour out in their heart the highest things they should pour out of how they feel led to do that because that is part of anyone's destiny that they're in touch with or connected with in their own as well.
Yeah.
Um, but your spirit, back to the point though, is your spirit sourcing your spirit. So having a practice, whether you praying, meditating, going long walks, you like to swim. I like to use the
Music.
why method.
Mm-hmm.
It's just questioning yourself, cornering yourself.
Uh-huh.
So self inquiry is a practice, is an ancient practice from the old masters from India in Buddhism. You just question yourself until you know really why you're doing something.
Uh,
Right. A lot of people are scared of that though. And then, but what happens is it actually frees you because you know really what's what in your life. And it actually gets you back to fundamental memories and fundamental pivotal things in your life that happen that you understand what that meant to you in your spirit. And you're able to see what spirit you're doing things out of. Because a lot of people don't even know why or where they really doing something for.
okay,
So they
so
don't
look,
understand what
when
spirit is coming from and why it may be.
you say question yourself until you know why you're doing
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing. I think that's something good to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I want to leave people with that practical because see, this is going to be a three-part type of thing because it's kind of deeper than just. It's not something to be brushed over. You know what I'm saying? I think a practical
Right.
is to question yourself, especially if it's something that's questionable. If you're gonna do some questionable
Right.
shit, yeah, for sure do that. But even just really a motive of why you
Yeah.
buy Christmas gifts or why you spend the Christmas money when you have bills to pay or why
Yeah.
you know, call bitches and shit when they ain't all
Right.
women. You might just say bitch ass nigga. Questioning yourself, why you drink, why do you do things, is a good practical.
Right.
It's an everyday thing to get on a balanced state. So I do want to
Yeah.
hold our audience a little bit. That's a practical. I mean, I've incorporated that, and it's just between this and last year, I'm a whole different being. As far as my
Yeah.
blood pressure, my balance, my peace. You know what I'm saying? So questioning, you know, things I used to wouldn't question, I would just react to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, of course, when you get older and you just can't react like you used to and it don't make sense, and if you've done it 100 times and it just, come on, man, why would I go to a club right now on Friday night at 9 o'clock? I'm a
Right.
62-year-old nigga, when I got shit to do tomorrow.
Right.
When that's a
Right. And
question.
it's
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's something very beautiful about it too because it's not necessarily a negative connotation. It's not just about something that you dang that seemed bad. Well, let me question myself. This is about questioning your energy, your spirit behind anything you're doing. It doesn't even have to be something that you think is bad because what happens is it gives you more freedom and peace in what you're doing because you know who you are in what you're doing. You know what spirit in which that is. And a lot of times people skip over that part, the self inquiry, the cornering of yourself, and the questioning of yourself, of the energy in which you're doing something in and why, whether it's the most beautiful thing in the world you feel like, or something that's questionable to your morality, or whether it's something you feel like you still have to do. But just to know that is beautiful because even if you're still pulled to do certain things or whatever, at least it gives you a certain amount of peace and clarity,
Right.
allows your connection with your higher self and the higher world and the source and spirit and absolution. It also allows you connection with those around you more clear because you're more clear on why you're standing there, why you're doing that, or why you're saying that, or what's going on. So
see, see,
allows
now, see, that's why we're gonna go ahead and shut him down now because you're getting to the real point, and I don't want people to be turned off about our podcast or what cream rises mean or what the consciousness is getting to, or even me as the bitter old man. Because honestly, if you start questioning, I'm just gonna give the practical question the shit that's questionable first to our audience, to our listeners. Question this shit. If you're gonna have a argument with your baby mama, or you're gonna, confront a person, or, gonna drive fast or drive late to the liquor store to get some like question that shit first before we get to questioning everything. Because once your spirit rises and you truly are in an internal bliss of questioning, and that's just part of what you do naturally, you're not going to want to be around,
Yeah.
do shit, or be around nobody. Ultimately. But just eat and breathe and shit. You don't have to question even that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just, you can go there with that. That's the high what's that?
Nah, I
High
mean you.
wasa, and when you start getting
I ain't
into
gonna say that. Don't leave him with. I ain't gonna leave
no, I
him with
don't. You
that. That's
scaring
not.
you, the consciousness. You're gonna be scaring my niggas away that I'm got signing up for this shit. Because first of all,
No,
the
I'm gonna
thought, the
say that.
practical of questioning it. If you don't know what I know, what you mean in the spiritual context of just really reinforcing your spirit in the right balance. But it sound like what Yeah, well, you know what? Why do I need to go to the family reunion and just talk to a bunch of
No,
motherfuckers? Why do I need this shit? I got a bicycle, nigga. I don't need no car because I'm not going nowhere further than what I have to. And you will bless up out of here because the people I know that truly do that don't be around nothing because this shit ain't nothing. I didn't want to hit him with that. You know.
no, no. And like you said, my tone in that is always a loving, blissful tone. I know it sounds something heavy, but it's actually true because it's gonna reinforce whatever in your life is actually really coming from a space of love. It's gonna be reinforced, and the things that were just busy stuff in your life that didn't really feel like it edifies your spirit will kind of fall by the wayside or not be as activated. That's what it does, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have less people around us, some people have more. That's you're gonna be who you are regardless in your dance, but it's gonna be more pure. I would say it purifies your experience. It purifies your relationship. It purifies all your connections and all the happenings in your life because you do that. You've wired yourself so much, you've cornered yourself so much that whatever is around you, that energy is the topical energy there. So I ain't gonna I ain't scared to necessarily say, oh, you're gonna have to be on a mountaintop. That's some people, but you'll still be able to have your business, do your thing. You just gonna be pure, more pure in your presence and what you pushing through it, and it's gonna give you more clarity and less mental depravity. You have less mental things like fucking with your mind, and your spirit is gonna be feel more clean and pure, not good or bad, but just more pure and clean because you're gonna be doing it exactly from the space of why you really doing it,
Yeah,
and
I
then your
call it.
mind ain't gonna
I
fuck with
call
you
it.
as much.
I agree with you. I call it the artichoke, the air artichoke technique. You ever seen an artichoke?
Hmm.
You just keep peeling that
Yeah.
motherfucker and just keep peeling. If you never ate one, you're just gonna peel to the middle of
Right.
the motherfucker, and there's just not gonna be nothing there but air, because you don't know when to start.
Right.
So if you
Right.
start peeling this shit off in your life and
Right.
thinking
Right.
about shit that's necessary and shit that's not, and why, and what importance is it to the real truth, especially when you start running toward God and the connection with Him. The faster and higher you run toward God, the more shit that you're peeling off that you need to be doing. Like, do you really need designer sheets, nigga? Like, do you need, is the Super Bowl really that important? Watching all the Super Bowl pregame just to watch the bitch at halftime. Like, you'll start peeling shit off to get to a better existence. I know you will. I think most
Yeah.
people, most niggas in the jail right now, if they was in that state, they wouldn't have did that thing that landed them in jail, because they just would have been in a different state where that wouldn't have been a thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? On the other end,
Right. Right. Right.
motherfuckers, a lot of social activities wouldn't be there because people wouldn't need to engage in all that. You wouldn't have a whole line of people waiting to get in the
Yeah.
club or go, waiting for a wave to surf on with everybody else when they got the whole coast to be by themselves. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I just want that. I think that's a good practical. I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna start end this one here, G, because I want to. I don't want to draw them out too long. That's some of the feedback we
Hmm.
got, so people could chew on the food we giving them. So, anything to say in closing?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna read her. I know we kind of went down some ravines, but we just source your mental and spiritual health by questioning just your why, like you said, the things that you may have questions in your heart about already that you're doing. Question yourself and why you're doing it to get to the
Mm-hmm.
source. The spirit of what you're doing leads to your mental health and what's happening in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so your mental and spiritual health go together, and sourcing those things allow your experience to be higher, more clearer, less noise in your mental realm, and who you are and how you space yourself with things, and then why you're doing things is going to feel higher because you're going to know your primal source of what's coming through the spirit of why you're doing what you're doing. So that's just those practicals. It's called self-inquiry. It's an ancient technique from the masters in the beginning of time, but I just call it cornering yourself. I
Yeah.
like it in this modern time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, cool, man. I
you know,
appreciate that.
you know,
Again, we bounced back a little bit here and just trying to give it to you like we're gonna do. We're gonna be hitting you once a week now, the
yeah.
frequency of once a week, you guys. So stay tuned, and that'll be probably Sunday mornings at 8, like before. And want you guys to
Mm,
share like you've been doing. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe. Let the people know if they want a little bit of food. Go on and hit that Cream Rises podcast, and we'll have some gear and stuff coming up for you shortly. We'll also have some of the sponsors that have signed up that are making their own little ads on board, and we're going to start having third parties. So if you are interested in being one of our third parties on our podcast, we'll let you know what that looks like with a couple of episodes. Go ahead and hit us I'll just have Jay put up our email address and give us your information, or hit us on our Instagrams or anything like that, and we'll get to you, and we'll kind of shake it up a little bit with some more people with some practicals and some real life experiences to chime in. So without further ado, just again, thank you guys for tuning in. The Cream Rises. Don't forget those practicals that the consciousness gave you, and hope everything's going well, and hope you guys are getting what you need out of that. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. You got anything in closing, G? We good?
That's good. That's good right there. Blessings to everybody.
All right. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Again, thanks for tuning in. Much love to everybody. Prayers and love and to everybody. Peace.
See, you like to blame them onions when you cry, but you so sweet, now them onions caramelized. You been asleep, I guarantee I open eyes. Warrants and warranties I can't pronounce. Yeah, I showed up in this world unannounced. Solid gold was the throne I renounced. Lost myself just to find